Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Generation of Wrestling Podcast. As always, yours truly, the 29-year-old piece of gold, the franchise, aka the GOW's resident tribal chief. And with me today, we got a special guest. He is a former Impact, Impact World Champion. He's a former Impact X Division Champion, former Tag Team Champion, as well as former NXT member as well. We got wrestling legend, Impact Wrestling star Eric Young in the building. Brother, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. You catch your breath, all my accolades there.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so EY, man. So look, got
Yeah.
a lot I want to talk to you about. We just came off the Against All Odds pay-per-view. Tonight we have night one of the Derby City Rumble as well, in which your stablemates be doing action tomorrow against the Motor City Machine Guns. But before we talk about all that, first of all, first things first, how are you doing today, brother? It's early.
Yeah, I mean it's early enough. Yeah, I've been up for a while actually. Usually get up pretty early, depending on what time I go to bed, which is usually late. I'm rotten at sleeping, so I don't bother with it as much as I can avoid it. About 4 hours last night, and that's typical. Ready to take on the world, buddy.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, let's get right into it. So tonight, Louisville, Kentucky, at Old Foresters Paris Town Hall, we got the Derby City Rumble, night one tonight. And of course, your guys tomorrow, they're going up against Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns. But the last couple of weeks, we've seen a little bit of tension, with the group. Can we expect EY to be ringside tomorrow?
Yeah, I kind of haven't made my mind up on that. We're in a real weird place for the three of us. I feel like we've lost some of our momentum for sure. I do believe that the three of us are the right people to get this thing done. And I said this to the Briscoes. The Briscoes are brothers by circumstance. Joe
Right.
Doring and Diener and me, we're brothers by choice.
Yes.
And to me, that's a much more powerful bond. One that was created from the ground up. It's a much more
Right.
powerful bond, and that's how we look at it. These are guys that I've known for over 20 years. Um, People that I trust, people that I know can do special things. And I think maybe that's just not happening for us right now. But come tomorrow, I'm sure we'll talk before then and figure something out, or maybe we don't. I don't know. Right now, I'm on a media tour away for them.
Yeah.
They keep calling me, but I'm too busy to be bothered right now, and we'll just deal with this when I get there tomorrow.
Well, speaking of brothers by choice, so you've been in many groups over the years, many factions, many stables. My question would be to you is how important is it for a wrestler such as yourself that's been around as long as you have to read the room, to know your audience, to know when things aren't working, to know when things are getting stale, and how important is it to always develop your character to maintain longevity in the business?
Yeah, for me, that's life in pro wrestling. If you want to stick around and you don't want to be the guy that's there for a cup of coffee. You need to
Yeah.
learn to adapt and to change and to tweak and to reevaluate and whatever you want to call it. It's I heard this Terry Funk interview when I was probably 16, 17 maybe, and they're interviewing him. He's about to be in the main event for ECW at their first pay-per-view that they're going to have on TV, shooting it at the arena, and it's him and Stevie Richards and Sandman in a three-way
Right.
ladder match, I think.
Yeah.
And they're saying, like, how is Terry Funk? The question was, how is Terry Funk still relevant? And he said, Terry Funk is always going to be Terry Funk. I can't change
Yeah.
that. But what I can change is the things that I do and how Terry Funk changes with wrestling. Because wrestling is going to be different when we wake up tomorrow and the day
Absolutely.
after that and the day after that. And I don't know, man, it was prolific in my brain. It's something that sat there. I can still hear his voice. I can still see him sitting there in the chair, giving the answers. And that's 27 years ago, and it's still a very
Right.
vivid memory for me. And that's how I've kind of always approached it ever since. Things are going to change, and sometimes you're going to get saddled with something that you don't really want to do. But for me, well, if you can prove that you can do the thing that you don't want to do, what are you going to be able to do when you're given the thing that you want to do? And that's
Absolutely.
how I've always approached it. I'd never done any comedy wrestling anywhere in my life, in my career, before I got to TNA. And they said,
Right.
well, we want you to do this thing where you're kind of paranoid and kind of funny, and we'll put you some vignettes. I'm like, yeah, perfect. I didn't know if I could do it, but I just said,
Right.
yeah, I could do it. And away we went. I did that for 9 years. So, uh, yeah, I think it's a cool thing. And I think it's a massive part of staying relevant in wrestling and staying, employed and being on TV. And if you think it's getting stale, it's probably already stale if you think it is. So it's
Right.
time to change and move and manipulate and do whatever it is to stay current.
Speaking of being able to stay current and stay relevant, and like you said, you never done any comedy wrestling. Then you came to TNA, you had the paranoia gimmick, which you were really good at. You really played into it. How hard is it not to get pigeonholed or typecast into a specific gimmick? Because you see guys and girls who they're so good at a gimmick, and it's like, damn, it's hard to see them. It's like an actor, right? You usually
Yeah.
see an actor in a certain type of movie, and then when they try to do a different style of movie, it just doesn't work. How are you able to go from such a silly gimmick and then still be taken seriously in the current role you're in now? Is
Yeah.
that like a mental adjustment as well?
I think for sure there is, and I don't think everybody can do it. I think one of the reasons why I've been able to have a job for so long is I am able to do it, and it's not that I think I'm able to do it. I've done it, 6, 7, 10, 12 times over the
Yeah,
last 20 some odd years. So if it wasn't something that I knew that I could do, but it revealed itself as we went, like switching from the happy-go-lucky guy that's scared of everything that everyone
yeah,
likes and is everybody's buddy into, this kind of mean, foreign group leader, and then switching from that to the band and tagging with Kevin Nash
yeah,
and Scott Hall. Like these guys ooze coolness, and I can't just
yeah.
show up and be like, oh, hey, I'm with these guys too. So,
Right,
there's things that you need to do. I mean, these are measures you need to make. And in wrestling, it's like I was saying earlier, every second of your TV time is an opportunity to tell your story, whatever
right,
that story is. And that's in the way you talk, that's the way you use your eyes, that's the way you stand, the way you move your hands, how you get in and out of the ring, the clothes you wear, the gimmicks you wear, the boots you wear, how you enter the ring, how you exit the ring, the moves you do, how you move in the ring, how you climb the ropes. Those are all tools for me to tell my story, trying to convince the people that are watching that I'm this thing or I'm that thing or I'm this kind of person or I'm that kind of person. And if you're not working on those things, people get lost and they don't understand. All of that stuff is 10 times more important than the,
yeah,
the moves that we're doing. The moves are a tool. It's a tool to tell the story. And if you're, like right now, I'm Eric Young and my finish is the pile driver.
right,
16 years ago, the WWF at the time banned the pile driver and said
yeah,
no one's allowed to do it because it's too dangerous. I said, well, I'm done. There's no
right,
better finisher in the world. The biggest company in the world just said they're top of the line, number one
yeah,
athletes in the sport aren't allowed to do it because it's dangerous. And I switched to it from that day and still use it to this day. And for me, Eric Young, he doesn't want to beat you. He wants to hurt you. He wants to injure you. And everything I do and every move I make in a ring and everything I do, I'm telling that story or trying to tell that story. So I don't seem like everybody else. I can't be screaming and yelling, I'm going to do this and I'm violent and I'm going to break your neck. And I get in the ring and start doing flying head scissors. That
yeah.
doesn't make any sense. That's a disconnect. So, I'm a big believer in that, and it's a rule that I have said at my wrestling school. It's a rule I say at seminars, and if guys are asking for my advice, I say do it because you should, not because you can. There's lots of things that I can do that people haven't seen me do in 10 years because it doesn't make sense. So I do the things that I believe I should do because I should do them.
It's funny you said that because you talk about the art of storytelling, and like I said, you've pretty much been in since the inception of Impact, damn near. So you've come into where we've come from very serious and over the top characters from the Attitude Era part of wrestling to even now. But the thing that you said, there's a disconnect, right? Because traditionally you're taught that baby faces have this move set, the bad guys have this move set, and it was at one point generally looked down upon for the bad guys, quote unquote, to do all the cool spots, right? It was more methodical. And then you would say the coolest spots for the baby faces. How important for you is it to maintain that integrity of proper heel versus babyface character and storytelling?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you watch the last 5 years, all the really good, memorable matches, they're
Yeah,
kind of following a version of those rules. The reality is wrestling has evolved into something else, and it's not bad, it's not good, it's just different.
right.
I think too much goes on. I think we throw away things and do things for the sake of, hey, I'm an athlete and I can do them, so
Yeah,
I'm going to do them. And I think the problem with that is an average person, and even a diehard wrestling fan. has a hard time digesting all that. They have a
Right.
hard time keeping up, and they're not given time to appreciate this super cool or super dangerous or super athletic thing because
Yeah.
they're off to doing the next thing right away. So, and I was guilty of it as well when I was younger. And this isn't like an old guy on the pulpit, no, don't do this and don't do that. That's what wrestling is now. I mean, you better be
Right.
athletic and you better be able to keep pace or it'll eat you alive. But I think there's a much smarter way about going about it, and I'm allowed to do it that way at Impact, and people seem to be enjoying it, and the staff seems to be enjoying it, and I can tell you that I'm enjoying it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always trying to bend the rules a bit because that's what wrestling is. You've got to bend the rules some and do things that maybe you shouldn't do and pick your spots. But I think kind of the storytelling element is not lost. It's just a different kind of story. And I feel
Gotcha.
we can do more emotional, more real, more gritty, more memorable stories by
Yeah.
using other things than just the wrestling. And that's what TNA or that's what Impact is trying to do. And that's for sure what I'm trying to do because that's the wrestling that I believe in.
Speaking of storytelling and telling your story, you were in TNA in the beginning, you left for a while, then you came back. What have you learned about yourself, not only as a character, but as a person? That time away that you spent and you came back. And how important is it for a talent? If you don't necessarily feel appreciated or you feel like you want to explore other avenues to, go out and better yourself and then potentially come back as a bigger star, how important is that?
Yeah, I think it's all part of your individual journey. For me, I would be a liar if I said I didn't want to work for the WWE, WWF. That's what I grew up watching. But I mean, I consumed everything. Once TNA started, I was, getting as many of the pay-per-views as I can, reading about it, following online on, learning about AJ Styles and learning about, Christopher Daniels and James Storm and these people
Yeah.
that I'd had no idea about. And leaving and going away, it's part of my journey. I really, really enjoyed my time at NXT, and I'm still friends with Hunter to this day. I wouldn't say that we're close, but we're
Yeah.
very friendly, and we talk still quite often. Um, a guy that gave me a lot of leeway, allowed me to do my thing my way. Most of Sanity came
Yeah.
from me. The music, the look, the jackets, the entrance, was definitely collaborative with Wolf and Nikki and Damo as well, but I was the one really steering the ship. And I think, that was how Hunter put me in that position because I have a ton of experience. And it was a success. We were tag team champs, tag team of the year, match of the year. Like this, we were one of the top acts in the entire company. And then everyone knows what happened on the main roster. It didn't go so well. I don't regret that either. Just a victim of circumstance. I don't think it's anything personal. Um, I think it's wrong. I went into his office and told him to his face that if you don't have 5 minutes for me to do something on your 3 hour show, then you failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done everything, and I'm not maybe the best at any one of them, but I can do every single thing at a high level. You just got to tell me what you want me to do, and I will do it better than you think I can. And then I got fired. So it just I'm a believer in fate, and I've got it tattooed on underneath of my right arm. And I don't believe in much, but that's what I believe in the most. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, man.
Speaking of fate, when you talk about impact or we talk about TNA in the early years, you think of Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, of course, you, James Storm. What current male, woman, or both do you look at right now that's on the uptick? And you're like, you know what? This guy or this girl, she just got it. I see legend status potential. She or he keeps doing what they're doing right now. Who's that one person that EY sees that could be a future legend in this business?
I mean, for right now on our roster, I think a person that didn't really catch me by surprise. I know about him because I was with him in NXT and I knew there was something there. But I
Yeah.
think Steve Maclin has really put it, has really planted his
Yes.
flag.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to happen. I know him very well. We're very, very good friends. And, there's definitely how he looks, how he talks, how he carries himself, his matches and how physical he is. He's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. He's been the real deal for a long time. He, just like me, was never given an opportunity to show that. And that's the beauty of Impact Wrestling. You get hired, and Scott Demore and, the writing team and Anthem Sports are going to figure out a way to put you in the best position to succeed. That's what promoting is. That's what writing is. It's not, here's my idea, do these things that I want to see. And that's how it works at the other place. You're basically just fixing somebody else's mess every day. In Impact, it's a much more collaborative effort. Everyone's pulling the rope in the right direction. I feel like everyone is trying to have the best match or best segment possible. And in turn, that's making the company better. And that's how we all do better collectively, is by getting the word out. Look at, like, we don't have the money, and the production value is not WWE. That costs money to look like that.
Right,
I
right.
would love for our show to look like that, but the reality is it costs millions of dollars, and that Anthem
Yeah,
Sports just doesn't have. But I think we go with a grittier look and a more down to earth look, and
yeah,
it's a look for a pro wrestling show. We're not trying to make
yeah,
uh, a television show. We're making a wrestling show. And there's a difference, in my opinion. And if you're a wrestling fan, I think you agree with me.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't want to see a television show. You want to see a professional wrestling show. So, and
Yeah.
that's what Impact is doing. It's written by wrestlers and fans for wrestlers and fans. And I think they're nailing it, man. There's something on every show for everybody.
And it's funny you said that because me and normally I have my co-host on, but we say that a lot. We feel like, and not to talk too much about it, but we feel like WWE is a television show with the wrestling, whereas you got the AEW, so you got the Impacts, which is a wrestling show. But speaking of Scott D'Amore, how instrumental has Scott D'Amore? Because it's been Impact's had plenty of regime changes. How instrumental
Mhm.
has Scott D'Amore and Gail Kim been as far as this rejuvenation of sorts for Impact Wrestling? And what do you think is the key for Impact staying relevant, even when it went through its laws? It's back on the uptick, and it's always been right there with WWE.
Yeah, it's for me, Scott has created something very special here. And like I said, it's part of it is the simple fact of hiring the right people,
Yeah,
and hiring the people that are good, that he knows have something to give, and then putting in them in position to show that thing, whatever that thing is. There's not one way to do it in wrestling. There's not one way to get over. There's not one kind of character. There's not one kind of storyline. It's a variety of those things, and we've got tons of different ways of coming at you, pro wrestling wise, and that's what he's doing. And they're constantly trying to figure out how do we get into a bigger building, and how do we get more people in here, and how do we get more viewership, and how do we get on more TV channels, and how do we get overseas, and how do we get back on TV in the UK? This is Scott does not sleep, I promise you. And he's doing it because he loves this company, and he loves the people that follow this company. He is a tireless worker. Um, Anthem Sports is an excellent
yeah,
partner, and they just kind of step back and say, "We'll take care of the business end, and you guys do the pro wrestling," and that's what it should be. And it's a really really good team, a really really interesting time to be there, and seeing it grow is not growing by leaps and bounds, but you know, micro changes. It seems
yeah.
every week, every week, every week, we're marching in the right direction, and that's a fun thing to be part of, man. It's exciting. Like, you never know. Tomorrow we could announce a new TV deal, and all of a sudden we're in 5 million more homes in the United States. So that's something that's constantly being worked on. The wrestlers themselves. I mean, I can only speak for me, but I don't concern
Yeah.
myself with that too much. I concern myself with what I'm given, and I try to make it the best that I possibly can, no matter what it is.
Well, absolutely. Like I said, you guys, especially for you guys to be on a smaller channel like Access, and to still, like I said, be relevant, to still be out here doing numbers on these pay-per-views top to bottom. I was at my first Impact pay-per-view, Hard to Kill, back in January, and it was
Yeah,
amazing, man, just to see, like, in person, the crowd response, because it's not a big crowd, it's a more intimate setting. But you would
yeah,
never notice when you're sitting there, you're listening, the crowd is going crazy. And that's a
yeah.
testament to you guys and you women and everybody that's putting in the work. But really quick, because I know we got to wrap up. So tonight and tomorrow, we have the Derby City Rumble, Louisville, Kentucky, Old Foresters Parish Town Hall. We also have Emergence coming up. And then shortly after in October, we're going to be on our way on the road to Bound for Glory. EY, man. Okay. So we got all the preliminaries out the way. Social medias, where can people find you, and how can people tune in to the Derby City Rumble? Where can we get tickets?
Yeah, it's the Eric Young. Instagram is the Eric Young IG. If you send me a message and I don't see it, it's nothing personal. I'm one of the busiest human beings on earth, and I've got 600,000 followers, and it's just hard to keep up with it all. And I'm not. I try to be off it as much as possible because it's a dark, dark place sometimes. So I'm going to try not to be bothered with it as much. It's an amazing tool and an amazing way to connect with people that are watching and consuming your things and are supportive. And I do it as much as I can, but it can be draining. It can be
Yeah.
draining and flying here and flying there. And I go to Germany next week and I'll be on a plane for, in the course of 5 days, 26 something hours on planes. So I
Whew.
don't have a ton of time to be scrolling and responding to everybody. So if you send me a
Right.
thing, I'll get to it eventually. And if I don't, it's nothing personal. Come to a show, talk to me there. I'll chit chat with almost anybody. So yeah, and I know you can do the Fight TV way for Emergence. If you're in the Chicago area or anywhere close, come down. It's in the Cicero Stadium is a really cool place to see a show. Like you were saying, it's not these huge buildings. It's small. It's intimate. They pack you guys in there on top of each other.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, everywhere we go, the atmospheres are always cool. There's not 20,000 people, but it's people that are passionate about wrestling,
Oh yeah.
passionate about the Impact product, and passionate about being there and supporting it. And you can feel it, man. And when we feel that energy, it makes us perform at an even higher level. So like I said, it's a drug that just can't be replaced. I can't get enough of it.
Well, I'm not a pro wrestler, but I'm sure you guys would have 500 or 600 hardcore screaming fans as opposed to 15,000 just sitting on their hands. So,
Yep.
but with that being said, Eric, thank you so much for taking your time to join us. Like I said, guys, tomorrow we have the Derby City Rumble tonight as well, July 15th and the 16th. Go get the tickets. Go to Fight TV. Also, check this man out every Thursday on Access TV for Impact Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the Generation Wrestling Podcast. I'm the franchise. He's Eric Young. We'll talk to you soon.